Welcome back, my favorite gamers and developers. Today is going to be a side quest. I don't have anything new to really present, but I wanted to talk about how to traverse nodes. Now, I previously talked about traversing nodes in an older video, but that was more focusing on dice. This time I want to focus on objects, like on the character sheet. See, sometimes I want to get a value that's on the same page, but then sometimes I want to get a value that's on the same object that I'm working on. And then sometimes I want to jump out of my sub window and into another sub window and get a value from there. Or sometimes I need to get a value that's in a list, or I'm in a list and I need to get a value that's out of the list. And if you've ever done this, you have to traverse through different windows or different nodes to get this information. I've been stuck twice on this project alone, and luckily I was able to get on the forums, and Moon Wizard and Trendlow was able to help out. So since I still struggle with this, I figured the best way to learn is to teach others. So this is my attempt. Let's check out what I got. All right, so I decided to make a new page so I can show all these different factors. Also, I'm going to leave this in my template, and that way if I need to refer to it in the future, I can. Or if any of you want to refer to it in the future, you also may. What I have here are two sub-windows. I have just the number field. And then I have two buttons that have a collection, and they're basically just off and on, and I number them 1, and this one will be number 2. Down here is a list that pre-generates, and it is built off of this skill list. So it's going to go into this Lua file, and it's going to pull these values, and that's how it's going to fill out. And this one is another window list that is built off of that's built off of this. So in here I have some stuff going on. Obviously this is just a test number, and here I have a combo box, a number, and then 2 buttons, and they're doing this. These 3 pieces here are doing the exact same thing, and I'll get to what the 4th one is all about in just a second. But basically, when the value changes on these 2, or when you click the button here, it's going to go through and it's going to get the value that is up in this box, and it's going to display it for debug. And then I'm going to bump the value up by 1, and I'm going to send the value back, and I'm going to also display it just to make sure that it happened. Then down here, I want to show you what happens when you get database node, and then what happens when you get the parent, or get parent, or even get parent. And I'm going to show you that for all 3 of these. It should kind of do the same thing, or at least we hope. Here, this is a combo box that when it's first created, it generates itself based off of the skill list again. So I'm going to pull in these values. And what I want to do is I want to be able to select a value, and then from here to here, it's going to open up to this window, and I want to grab, if this matches this, then I want to pull in the value of dots back over into this value here. So I have to traverse a little bit with that. And then what these 3 boxes are doing, this one is going out to here, grabbing this value and just sending it as a debug. And this one is going to go and get the value of this box and tell you what its state is. And this one is going to go grab the value of this box and tell you what its state is. So let's see what happens when we go into the program. All right. So my first test I want to do is I just want to change this value. And you can see that the number went from 4 to 5. I also display in the debug here that it went from 4 to 5. And then I'm going through what happens when you get database node, and then you get the parent, or get parent, or get parent. So what's happening here is when I change this value and I say get database node, it's getting you the node of this field right here. So you can see it's returning CB test local, which is this value. And then when I say get parent, it goes from here and then into this detail. Now, I did an injustice by actually making it smaller. This is a list. You could create more. So we could create and delete these. So this is a window list. They're just really large details. And so get parent is just going to this right here. And then when I say get parent again, it's then going to step out and it's going to go to the whole window list. So it's going to pull in all of them. And you can see I called it window list buttons or WL buttons. And then if I say get parent again, then it's going out to the character sheet and it's grabbing it's using the node of this area. So same thing should happen here. When I change this, it's going to change from a 5 to a 6, and it should show the same thing. So yep, it went from 5 to 6, and you saw the database node, get parent, get parent, get parent. All right, now I'm going to click this one, and we're going to see what happens. All right, we get an error. Why? Well, it's because of the type of control/fields that they are. A button control inherits a window control, and window control doesn't have a database node. So a string field inherits both string control and database node, and a number field inherits both number control and database control. Well, database control is able to get database node. So the fields are stored in a database node where the controls themselves aren't. Now, there is something called a button field, which I also just learned about. Didn't realize there was a difference. A button field does inherit a database control, so it does get stored in there. And so I'm going to show you both ways to be able to get the button. The thing is that Ruleset Wizard, when you drag a button out, it's a button control and not a button field. And part of me thinks this is smart because it takes up less space, but I would like an easier option to turn it into a field rather than just a control. But I'll show you how I do it anyways. So this button here, when it attempts to get database node, it can't because one doesn't exist. So that's what this button here is doing. I'm saying window.getDatabase node. And so the window, what that's doing is instead of starting here, it jumps out to the detail and it grabs that. And so when I click it in here, it changes it from 7 to 8, but you're going to notice its first database node is actually this detail. And then the second, or when I say get parent, it's going to go to the whole window list. And then when I say get parent again, then it's going to the whole character sheet. And then when I say get parent again, it goes to the container that holds all the character sheets. So I show you this because I want to show you what my personal standards are. I don't ever really want to call get database node by itself. Now, I do have some bad habits, and you might see it on some of my older code, but I like to start with window.getDatabase node. And the reason why is because if I want to get the value of this field right here, I would just call self. So with here, I'm going to go ahead and add, an onValue change. And I'm going to local testnum equals self.getValue. So let me reload it in here. And the hopes I'm trying to do with this is that when I change this value, it's just going to show me what the value is in debug. But all I need to do is type in self. So if I want this field, I'll just type self. If I'm going to get the database node, if I'm going to go through that trouble, I'm just going to go ahead and type in window get database node. And then that way it starts here at this section. So as I change this, we should see, yep, changes to 9, 10, 11. So this will start filling up as we change this field. So all of these, I would really start with window.getDatabaseNode, because that's probably what I'm going to want to do with it. I'm probably going to want to at least see what's all here. Or I'm going to start saying get parent so I could jump from what's in my detail to what's in my entire window list. Or get parent to go from my detail to my window list to my character sheet. Next, as I change this value, I want this value to update. So if I click punch, it should be 1. Or if I click shoot, it should be 3. Or dodge should be 4. So how I'm doing this is in here. On initiation, I'm just filling out the drop down. Then when I change the value, I'm grabbing the value that's here, so self get value, and then I want the character node. So window get database node. So I'm going to the detail get database node. So all the fields that are here. Well, then I say get parent. So I'm going from the detail to the window list. Get parent. I'm going from the window list to the character sheet. And then in there, I want to get the value of the skill node. So the skill node is this piece over here. So I'm saying character node dot get child window list skills, which is what I called this. That puts the value here. And then when building this, let me show you how I do this. So I got as far as getting the window list skills. And then in my random stuff, which is a Lua file I keep under scripts, I go and I grab a double node traversal. Because when I'm going to go into the list, I want to go into each item of the list and pull out values that are inside there. So I grab that, so I don't have to retype this every time. And, okay, this part, is it needed? My skill node, I'll replace this with here. And let's just see what it returns us. Okay, so I go and I change this value. All right, so we get this whole list here. And so you see my list class, and so this is one ID. And then in there, there's a skill name, skill value max, icon cycler, skill value. Okay, so what I need is the skill name and the skill value. So I come into here and I say local skill name equals this dot get child, and what was the value? Skill underbar name dot get value. And I also need what was it? Skill value. So I'll change this to come on. Skill value, and change this to skill value. And then I probably should see what this returns me. So let's reload. Okay, let's see what I get here. Oop, I get an error. Because I capitalized the value. Try again. All right, so now I could see, okay, it returns me dodge and the number 4 and kick and the number 2. And so, yeah, that looks right. So what I want to do with it now is if my skill select equals skill name, then window dot, what is the name of this field? Num attribute test. Window.num attribute test dot set value is the skill value. So let's do one last trial of this. And now when I change this, kick, it returns 2, dodge 4, shoot 3. Great. So that's working. Now, these final buttons, what I'm trying to do with these is I just want to go into here. I want to pull the number value. And then the second button pulls this button, and the third one will pull this button. So when I click here, I pull the number 7. Great. Let's change it to 18 and try again. Just make sure. Yep, 18. All right, so this one, I click and it's telling me that the button is off. I change it and now it tells me the button is on. This one, also the same thing. Cool, this is working. So what am I doing in here? Well, this one here, I'm just going window, get database node, get parent, and then I go grab the child that is called test-based num, and I get the value and I pull it back, and then I just send it to debug. This is a little bit more complicated because this is a button control, so I can't use get database node to get out there. So I have to traverse, and this here is just for debugging purposes. This is actually not needed. But all I'm doing is I say window.windowList, and what that allows me to do is window, I start here in the detail, and then .windowList lets me go from the detail to the window list. And then .window, so once I say window.windowList, it puts me here. And then when I say .window, it then sends me to this window. And then .testBase button 1, get value. And this here is called testBase button 1. So once I get the window list, I say .window, it puts me here, and then I say .testBase button 1, which then brings me back down to here and get value. So those are the steps that I have to do to get there. There you go. So window, window list, window, testBase button 1, .get value. Not too bad. With this one, I am using a get database node. Now, how I'm doing this is I went and changed the properties of this window. I made an advanced template button field. So when we look at this, when we look at the XML source here, you could see that my testBase button 2 is actually a button field, where my testBase button 1 is a button control. Which is the best way to do it? I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. If we're going by lines of code, this one is smaller than this one. This one is only 1 line of code to pull the value. This one is technically 2. I could get away with actually putting this right here to get the value, but that's still longer code than we had to write for this one. So I don't really have a good piece of advice for you. So I left both of these on my template just so I could go to them and say, all right, this is the one I need now. So I'll leave that in your hands, whichever one you think is better, but both of them are here. Now, the last part that I want to do is I have these two sub windows here. This is my top sub window, this is my bottom sub window. And what I want to do is I want to click this button and I want to go get the value from the string up here and the number, and then I want to concat it in such a way to where it says top test 6 and then in brackets bottom test. So I click this and it returns this piece of information. What am I doing to get there? Well, in my top test, I just made a string and a number. They don't do anything. And then here I have another string. And so this button is where all the magic is happening. And so when I click it, I'm going and grabbing some values. My first one is the local field. So window.testBottomString in.getValue. That's what the name of this field is, testBottomString in. And so I just simply window.testBottomString in, get value. Done. The top fields are not as easy. So we could do this and follow along. I'm going to grab this, put it here, change my window up a little bit. So what we're going is we are going When we click this button, we say window, which takes us here. And then next is parent control, which will take us here. And then window, which takes us here. And then subwindow test top, which takes us here. Dot subwindow, which then takes us here. And then we could say test top string and test top num. And that's how I'm grabbing those values. So my top field goes in here, my string top field and my number top field goes in here. And then I just do a simple concat. String top field, concat with a space, then the number top field, and then concat that with open brackets, local field. And then I'm printing it to here. So window.testBottomString out, that's what I named this, dot set value sconcat. I hope you followed that. I know it's a little bit difficult, but back it up and watch it a couple more times, and hopefully that will help. You know how side quests are sometimes longer than the main quest? I think that's what just happened. I think this is good information to understand how to traverse windows and nodes in Fantasy Grounds. I know that I have been frustrated with it at times because of my misunderstandings of how something works, and maybe you're running into it too. So hopefully this information that I just gave will alleviate some of those frustrations and get us back to some more developing. I'm going to take a couple days off of filming just so I can focus on trying to get more done in this template, and hopefully when I come back I'll have some really cool stuff to show you. So until next time, keep gaming and keep developing. Oh, and happy Star Wars Day.